Hello everyone, this is Celebrate Games. I am back with another episode of Let's Play for Star Wars Battlefront, and today I'm going to be covering the different types of game modes and for multiplayer, because there's so many different game modes compared to a normal first-person shooter, only because this is a mixture of first-person shooter with heroes, kind of like Warcraft 3 a little bit. And so, you got here, you can see we have the 9 different game modes. And over here you usually see, when you first log into the screen, it shows what's the random pick of the week is. In this case it's Drop Zone. It's here on the side too. And it also shows what you played last, which for me was Heroes versus Villain. And so I've played a little bit of most of the modes, but I haven't played all of them. So I'm going to kind of go through each of them in depth so you can get a good understanding of how each mode works and operates. Now, the first mode I'm going to cover is Supremacy. I've done a previous video of that, and I will link any modes that I've played in the description so that way you can kind of see what it looks like. But Supremacy, the name kind of says it all. The goal of the game mode is to show which team can dominate other by pushing opponents all the way back to their own ship. And so there are 5 control points, I believe, or it might be 5 or it might be 4, that you have to work to control. And it's almost like team domination in a way. If you do, however, capture all control points, you automatically win. So in a way, it kind of becomes a little bit tug of war. When you first start out, there is a neutral node that is up for grabs, and depending on how fast your team is able to capture that, other nodes can become available. And so once you get done with the first node, you have to work strategically to capture the rest of the nodes. And after a team captures a control point, there's a short push forward period that gives each team a chance to move to the next area of the map and capture the next point. It's during this time that pickups kind of disappear. Well, actually they do disappear and only reappear in new area. And so in order for you to... Oops. Let it, when it goes, when you haven't pressed the button in a while, it kind of goes to blank. But in order for you to claim victory, you do have to push the enemy back to their own ship and control every point in the battlefield, or most of the points until time runs out, because I believe there is a time limit on this. And so, the next one is Walker Assault. Actually, hold on. Before I even go to Walker Assault, I'm going to actually cover a little bit more tactics for Supremacy. Now, because Supremacy usually takes place on a large map, because it's a 40-player match, which is pretty large for a first-person shooter, it's best to use mid to long-range capability weapons. So rifles, snipers, things like that are really good. Every once in a while, you might go against a hero, depending on hero tokens, if somebody's able to pick it up. And from what I've seen, it seems like the hero that's available in this one is usually... Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader, so it kind of varies. Yeah, so Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader are the 2 heroes that are available, and so it's best to keep your distance, of course, if they have the hero, and then of course try to use what strategic advantage you have. So close range weapons aren't as useful because of how big the map is, and since because this is a coordinated match and there's 40 people, if you have headsets or anything like that, it really does help to coordinate. And if you could drop infantry turrets on friendly control points, that's also a good thing to do, because it helps you defend it much better. And the turrets are actually very powerful, even against heroes, as long as they don't get close. And of course, don't rely on infantry turret to protect control point. It is very limited by itself, so you want to make sure that you leave some people to defend it. And it guarantees a little bit more time in terms of how long it takes the enemy to take down infantry turret, especially if they don't have a hero. And so I think that covers like the basic tips for Supremacy. Walker Assault is the next one, and of course you can see from the name, it's pretty much another 40-player map. So like a similar strategy to Supremacy in that you do require large, well, it's 40 people, so you do require medium to long-range weapons to help get your advantage in that. And the thing about Walker Assault is that your overall goal is to battle over the massive AT in this mobile attack and defend mode. And so the Emperor has deployed formidable ATs or ATT or AT-AT, to wipe out a rebellion resistance once and for all. And to combat this powerful threat, you have hidden away multiple uplinks that must be defended at all costs. So these uplinks can call in Y-wings from the galaxy to bomb the AT-ATs. Dang it, why did I say ATT? It's AT-AT. So anyway, it is only during the bombing raid that the AT-AT can be damaged. And so if one or more AT-AT reach their destination, the Empire wins. So in essence, you're trying to control these uplinks so your Y-wings can destroy the AT-NT. And if all AT-AT are destroyed, victory belongs to the rebels. And so it's a little bit tricky depending on which side you're on. So of course the Empire versus the rebels, that's what it breaks down to. So if you're the Empire, your goal is to keep the uplinks offline to from bombing the raids. And if you are the rebels, you want to keep the uplink active to add more Y-wings to bombing the raid. And the Empire, of course, wants to defend the AT-AT from rebel attacks during bomb and raid, while the rebels, of course, want to attack the AT-AT during the raid to destroy them. And the Emperor, if the AT-AT survive, you win. So the Empire will win if your AT-AT survives. However, if the rebel are able to destroy the AT-AT, they're automatically win. So this one's a little bit tricky in that you're almost waiting for a period of opportunity to destroy the AT-AT. And so the concept of the Walker Soul is simple. The Empire must safely protect AT-AT walkers traveling past the 3 uplink checkpoints, or the rebel forces must destroy all walkers present on the planet. And so the way each side accomplishes goal is the complex piece that requires both teamwork and a little bit of situational luck. So, Walker Soul takes place in a large section of each planet, which means there's plenty of room to roam and a lot of area to cover. So use that to your advantage. Try to use whatever tactic you can to put your team in the right position to defend, to keep those uplinks up. And so the longer you keep the uplinks, the more likely you'll win. And so that kind of covers the basic concept of it. It is a little bit more complicated because you only have a finite amount of times for you to attack the AT-AT, and it makes it a little bit more complex and requires much more teamwork. So if you have a really crappy team that thinks this is just run and gun, then yeah, you're gonna be in for a tough match, especially if you're on the rebel. You could run and gun maybe if you're on the Empire, but the rebel, yeah, you're gonna need a little bit more teamwork. Alright, so that kind of covers like the basic overview of the Walker Assault. Fighter Squadron, this is a 20-player match, and you hop into a starfighter and dominate the skies. Now, this one is unlike the others because you're controlling a fighter jet itself. And so the goal, of course, is to attack enemy troop transport or defend your troop transport. The side that takes out the most enemy ships wins. So, in essence, this is kind of like if you play as Star Wars: The Old Republic, the game. It's similar to that, except it's more objective based. So your goal is to, of course, attack the transport and destroy as much ships as you can, and after the time limit, you win. So the biggest tactic I would say for this is to shoot down bots. Is good for racking up quick points because they're easy to kill, but it takes 3 bots to equal the amount of points you receive from killing an enemy player. So keep that in mind, that shooting down bots, you need 3-to-1 ratio to equal it out. So if you notice you happen to run across a lot of bots, take them out quick. They're easy, but your goal is, of course, always the enemy player. And the transport ship, of course, are by far the most important part of the fighter squadron. A single transport takedown rewards your team 10 times the score that a single enemy player defeat would grant you. So there's a 10-to-1 ratio for enemy player compared to transport ship, and 3-to-1 for enemy player for shooting out bots. So in essence, there's like 3 times as much for transport compared to the bots. And so, that's a lot. So of course you want to focus more on the transport, but sometimes that can be difficult if you have a tough team. There are many tokens in the center of the map, normally at low altitudes, to create a bit of challenge when you attempt to collect them. There are repair tokens, refresh tokens that refresh your ships. Most importantly, 1 hero token that spawns the collector in that team's hero ship when collected. Whether it be Han Solo and Chewbacca in the Millennium Falcon, or Boba Fett in the Slave One. So having a hero in a battlefield more than benefits team using these hero ships take down and transport ships exponentially faster, pushing your team to even closer victories. So there is a hero token available in this, and it's best to utilize this as effective as you can. So, and of course, to repeat, that's the Millennium Falcon or the Slave 1 ship. Then you have Blast, which is defeat more enemies than your other team. So this is, in essence, the team deathmatch of Star Wars the Battlefront. And so Blast is pretty much run and gun. If you want something closest to, you know, Call of Duty where you just run around and kill people, this is probably it. And this is probably the mode you gravitate towards the most. The first team to score 100 points or score the most kills at the end of the time limit win. Of course, try to be strategic about this because it is pretty easy to die in this. I mean, not as fast as Call of Duty. However, with so many different things available, whether it's from heroes or, you know, certain weapons or turrets, you want to be very careful not to run and gun and get yourself in a bad situation or overextend. So that's something you want to factor in when you're out there. And so this is the closest thing to team deathmatch, and it's probably the most played mode, I believe, next to either Supremacy and Walker Assault. Heroes versus Villain is actually really popular too, so I'll get to that last. Best tactic for a blast really depends on your map, so make sure you have several loadouts, either a close combat loadout or a long combat, depending on the map they choose. If you notice there's a lot of outdoor space, then a medium to long range rifle will be better. But if it's not a lot of outdoor space, then closer, more explosive type weapons if possible, depending on your level. Now, cargo is a bit of a stealthier mission, in that your whole point is to steal the enemy cargo while protecting your own. So it's almost, you know, it's a little bit of a hide and seek. Not necessarily hide and seek, maybe that's a poor analogy, but, you know, but you're supposed to steal theirs while defending yours. So, of course, this is only 12 players, so this is actually lower than a normal amount of players, because in that, it's 6 and 6. So it does require great finesse, especially you only have 6 people, so you have to work up much better together. Now, this one, so you're supposed to bring the enemy cargo to your base and defend your cargo. The side with the most cargo in the end wins, and if I believe if there isn't a win, then it's a draw or it goes in overtime. I haven't actually seen that yet, so I'm still haven't figured out what happens if that happens. The cargo is similar to the average capture the flag. Actually, there it is. That's what I was thinking. It was capture the flag. So this is capture the flag, just represented with cargos. So I knew, yeah, haven't played capture the flag in a while in a first-person shooter, but you've seen a lot in like World of Warcraft or other games like that. So this is another one that is exactly like capture the flag. Although the first team to collect 10 pieces of cargo is the winner. Each team starts with 5. There's a finite amount of cargo on the battlefield, so the game is similar to capture flag, a game of tug of war. So you want to factor that in there. There are 2 generally tactics for playing cargo on any map, and the first one is the run and gun tactic, and of course run and gun is literally just that. You run around and attack the enemy base, do everything possible to take the cargo. It's more of a guerrilla tactic. It's not as strategic, so that's something, you know, most people, that's usually the most common strategy when you don't have a good organized team. The other strategy is a strong defense or camping method, as your victims may claim. So one of the best defenses in Star Wars Battlefront is not finding one great spot from which to sit and take our enemies, but finding several that you can rotate through and watch multiple angles and avoid getting flanked by incoming foes or enemies. So of course it's much easier to defend a location if you have friends helping you, but if you don't have, you know, a good team, it's harder to execute this strategy. So, you know, with good communication and good team, defense usually proves to be a superior tactic. However, it's not very common if you're running this game with random strangers. So those are usually the most common tactics or a variation thereof. So it's something to keep in mind, especially if you have a team that has a headset and actually works well together. Otherwise, you're better off going with a running and gunning. And then the other one is drop zone, and that one is to capture more drop pods than your enemy to win. Now, this one is in a way kind of similar to cargo in that you do have to capture a certain amount drop zone, not drop pod. So in order, you have to activate a drop pod to start claiming it, or you have to defend a drop pod while it's being claimed. The side that claims the most drop pods win. Drop zone is the ultimate test of strength and domination of any one point on any map. The objective for drop zone is to take control of drop pod in a given location. The twist is that location where these pods are dropped will actually fall, can be virtually anywhere in the map, and this mode is playable and that area is always random. So in a way, you don't really know where the pod is going to appear, and it creates complete chaos because wherever it appears, everybody's scrambling to get there. So the best way to play this mode is always to keep moving and never stand still for too long. This technique both keeps you safe from attackers, but remember where you are when you kill them, and leaves you ready to move when the next pod drops. So it's really kind of like musical chair in that you don't really know where the next chair will appear. And of course, yet you must protect the drop pod until the timer is fully expired before you can claim the loot that dispenses from it. The goal is to capture 5 different pods for your team in order to win the match. So there's a couple different tactics with drop pods, but the randomized location means that you must always stay frosty, keep on your toes, you know, it's almost like you keep your head on a swivel, because at any moment when a drop pod could be found in any direction. And of course the pods don't always drop one after the other either, so it's possible that if a single drop pod is not claimed after a certain amount of time, another will drop, leaving 2 unclaimed drop pods available at once. So that is possible, especially if you're not fast enough to claim it, which of course it creates even more chaos because then you have 2 pods to go after. And so once a pod has been captured, beware that anyone, and literally anyone, can claim the loot that has been dropped from it. And if you're the only one around and capture the pod and trying to pick them up, and use every power, if only to prevent the enemy from having access to it. So you have to do whatever you can to prevent your enemy from getting access to that loot. So you like squad shield or personal shield can give you those extra few seconds of survivability, but it does take time to activate those, so you make sure you want to use those smartly. This helps in like really tough situation and can even turn the tide of a team battle. So use your power-ups wisely, particularly for drop zone, especially if you're the one that's claiming a drop pod. And of course, if you're defending it, you want to make sure you kill the enemy before they can claim your drop pod. So it's quite interesting to see how this plays out, and it's similar to cargo in that it requires some finesse. It is a bit more player than cargo in that cargo is 12, drop pod is 16, so it kind of creates a little bit more flexibility because you have 8 people. Still have to coordinate though. And of course we have Droid Run, which is a fast-paced action with 3 moving droids to capture and hold. Now this one you have to focus. There are really 3 objectives: activate the droids to start claiming them, and defend the droids as they're being claimed. The side that claims all 3 droids wins. So that's the primary objective, depending on which side you're on. So Droid Run is a balance between greed and tactics. To win a Droid Run match, you must claim all 3 droids. Greed can be a virtue, encourage you to take risk in order to win, but it can also cost you a match if you're not careful. The 3 droids are located fairly symmetrically around the map, so you kind of have a good idea where they are based on where one is. And of course, all 3 droids, they do roam very specific location, but you must remember that they still roam, so they won't just stand there waiting for you to claim them. And of course this could place different strategy depending on where they are in the map and which map you're playing on, so it does create a little bit of a wiggle room in terms of it's not static, it's very fluid. So droids roam around area where they're usually located, which can be good or bad, just depends on the map. So of course you didn't try to either defend or capture them. There are times when it will be more cover than normal, which is usually the best times to take them. However, this isn't the best way to take them if you have to wait for it, you know. So but being greedy, but you have to be smart at the same time, so don't put yourself in an awkward situation where you overextend yourself and result in the enemy being able to claim the droid. So after a droid has been captured, it can be captured right back just as easily. So this can hinder your progress if you're being greedy and pursuing the other droids. Don't leave them. Once you capture a droid, don't leave them by themselves. Make sure you have somebody to defend the droid you capture. The goal is for you to get all 3 to win. So that's the biggest thing. And if you don't get all 3, you won't win, and it will go to whoever claimed the most. So it's like a balancing act where you could have two droids and trying to get the last one, but as soon as you're about to get the last one, the enemy team claims one of yours. So it's a good mixture of defense and offense. And so, which is why the more droid you have, the harder it is to get the last one, because you're going for the last droid and you have two already captured. So there's two possibilities of the enemy team taking one of your droids. So which is why you have to have a really, really good team, or really fluid team that is able to maneuver between both, or all three, and help and defend at the same time. And then we have Hero Hunt. Now, Hero Hunt is interesting. I played this earlier in one of my first playthrough, and Hero Hunt, in essence, you play as one of the main heroes, and you are going up against a squadron. And so you're a single hero. You're supposed to defeat. If you're part of the squadron, your goal is to defeat the hero. Whoever actually lands the killing blow on the hero becomes the hero, and you defeat the hero, become the hero, and whoever defeats the most enemies wins. So whether they count your total kills as a hero as well as the squad, and whoever has the most overall kill is the winner. So in essence, you could you could end up being on a squad and you're the last person that kills the hero, you become the hero, and then you have to go into your very own squad. And so it's interesting to actually see that play out. It's very fluid, very fast paced. The hero doesn't automatically regenerate life. They have to run around and find that. So they're going to be on a constant swivel, but it's harder for them to find life or regenerate life. So you will eventually wear them down, but you also don't want to needlessly throw away your life to increase their kill count, because that makes it harder for you to catch up to them. So it's in a way you have to play smart and not extend yourself to the point where you give away a lot of free kills pretty much. And so, in my opinion, Hero Hunt is definitely one of the most unique modes in Star Wars Battlefront, because it pits a team of hunters, whether they be stormtroopers or rebel troopers, against a single hero character that includes both heroes and villains, depending on the planet. So you could be anywhere from Palpatine to Darth Vader to Boba Fett, depending on the planet, or you could be Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, or Layla. So, of course, in my opinion, Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, and Palpatine are the three most, I think they're a bit overpowered right now, especially Luke Skywalker. He's really, really fast in terms of getting around and moving around the map. So, particularly, I hate going against him if he's the hero. The others are not as tough. I think Han Solo and Layla are a bit on the soft side. When I played against the Hero Hunt, I played against them, they were pretty easy to kill. So, I felt like they're not as strong as some of the other heroes, but that's just my opinion. Particularly Layla, she seems more defense oriented. So in an offense game like Hero Hunt, if you get stuck with Layla, you might not have a large kill count. She does kill them easily, yes, but a lot of her special abilities and tools are geared towards defense. So you'd have to use those tools effectively to make up for her lack of offense power, like say Luke, or Han Solo, who has more abilities designed to kill people. So I think one of her ability is the shield. So overall in the tactic, playing as a hero means playing to the character's strength, which is kind of what I just said. You don't know which hero you will be controlling when you become the hero character, but once you find out, it becomes your job to adjust. So melee characters should stick close to quarters situation, while blast type characters might play the outdoors a little bit more. So that is important. If you're a blaster character, you want to stay outdoors. Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader, you want to stay indoors. Troopers are the hunters. Even though you want to get the kill so you can become a hero, you still must work with your team. So most hero characters need to be ambushed either from a distance or right around a corner, and play to their weakness. So generally explosive turrets are also really good. If you could actually pin down a hero in an area where you could do sustained damage with a turret. Use items like the Seeker Shot to take out a hero character from a distance while keeping you safe as possible. If you want to survive the battle, fire and extend the Seeker Shot and all weapons in general. Without a doubt, you're at a disadvantage even when the hero character. So staying on the move, and it helps keep your survival rate much, much higher. And as a hero character, a good team of hunters will always attempt to ambush you. So luckily, almost every hero character has an ability that can be used to escape dire situation. Don't be afraid to attack head on, but read the situation and escape if necessary. Alright? And then last is heroes versus villains. Now this is without a doubt my favorite mode. If you've seen any of my playthrough or videos, you'll see that I love playing this mode. I like playing as either the heroes or the infantry. I think there's an advantage to playing as both, and depending on your loadout, you can actually be very influential as an infantry to grant a victory, only because often infantry are overlooked by heroes, but depending on your loadout, you can actually do some serious damage to heroes. And then on top of that, you can actually pick up power-ups which are not the heroes are not able to pick up themselves. So for example, I picked up a power-up, I think it was like I forgot the name of it, but it's like a missile drops, and that's probably the wrong name, I'm butchering the name. But you're able to call down like an airstrike from your ships, and if heroes are caught in that airstrike, it almost guarantees they'll get killed. So if you notice there's a cluster of heroes together and you get this power up, you can literally end the match in like probably like less than 30 seconds if they're clustered and don't move. So that's something that's really beneficial, because infantry has the power to make or break victory in heroes versus villain. And of course, heroes versus villain is a round-based combat with mixed teams of heroes and infantry. So in essence, you get 3 heroes for each side. So whether it's Luke, Layla, or Han Solo versus Darth Vader, Senator Palpatine, or Boba Fett. So those are the 3 heroes. There's 3 on each side. There's also 3 infantry. So it's 6 on 6. 6 heroes, 3 infantry. I'm sorry, 3 heroes, 3 infantry per each side. And so the overall goal is the side that has the most victory wins. You have to win 5 matches to win. And so it could get long depending on how smart it is. Some heroes, in particular Boba Fett players, I know you're out there, Boba Fett players have really good aerial superiority. A Boba Fett player can literally go up, and depending on which map it is, and hide on top of like the highest level of the map, and they're really hard to kill if they're smart. I had one Boba Fett player that he hit on top of like this balloon blimp thing, and he waited up there until his infantry could seek down the other heroes and eliminate them. But he was so close to dying, but all he did was ram back and forth to avoid being shot from long-range infantry snipers, and he did that long enough until his infantry could take out the heroes. So Boba Fett players, if you could take them out quick, I'd recommend it, because on certain maps they are really difficult to kill and really difficult to catch because of his jetpack. And so if you see them, try to take them out, or at least wear them down as fast as possible so you can die easily and can't escape. Of course, Darth Vader, of course, is pretty powerful, and so is Palpatine. You know, they're always primary part target, but if you could catch Boba Fett, you know, off guard, I would prefer you take out Boba Fett, because Palpatine and Darth Vader, they aren't as difficult to deal with if your Luke Skywalker is still alive. If he's not, then that's a different story. But, you know, for the most part, Luke is more evasive and faster than Palpatine and Darth Vader, so he could actually escape them pretty good. So, because of the power behind each individual hero and villain, this game mode is mostly about matchups. Some heroes can easily take on a specific villain but get destroyed by others. There are ways around this, but that depends on how comfortable you are with the character you're controlling. In most situations, Han Solo and Boba Fett are evenly matched, which that is true. I've played with both of them and they are pretty evenly matched. I am better with Han Solo, but Boba Fett is pretty good too. I just don't really like his moveset for me, but I'm actually pretty decent with Han Solo. However, a head-to-head with Emperor Palpatine may skew in favor of Han. And the reason why Han has longer range than Emperor Palpatine, and he actually has some really nifty power-ups, not power-ups, but abilities that can do damage from afar, whereas Senator Palpatine, I think the only thing he has from really far is the chain lightning. He could steal your life, yes, but that has a longer cooldown. And Senator Palpatine fares rather well against Luke Skywalker because of his Force Lightning. There's a constant amount of damage that Luke cannot block. So that's something to factor in. So take each matchup very seriously. Every movement, every head-to-head combat sequence matters. Do whatever it takes to avoid engaging in a 2-on-1 situation, specifically if you're a Princess Leia or Emperor Palpatine. Because really, those two you don't want to get jumped. So yeah, so if you're Princess Leia or Emperor Palpatine is part of the two-person squad, both Leia and Palpatine are primary support characters and can directly aid any characters nearby. Not only does grouping with another hero villain helps Leia or Palpatine effectiveness, but gathering their troops can create a formidable squad. So each character can drop supplies for their teammates and protect them with enhanced squad shield or chain lightning blast to throw the enemy off balance. Troopers are expendable in this game, so don't be afraid to sacrifice yourself if it helps protect your friendly hero. In the same vein, don't get sucked into a trap where you're drawn to a trooper when a hero character is waiting to attack you. So sometimes that's pretty common where I'm a trooper and I am baiting a hero into chasing me, and while he's chasing me, I have my two heroes waiting to just pick him off. So yeah, particularly Luke Skywalker players are very aggressive in chasing down infantry, and if I'm playing against a Luke Skywalker, I shoot him a couple times and run around a corner and lead him right into Darth Vader or Palpatine to like just destroy them. So that's, you know, a different tactic, but you know, it helps, particularly if you know that Luke Skywalker is like the fastest melee in terms of movement speed. It seems to be the fastest melee character, and he usually is pretty aggressive. Darth Vader's not as fast, of course, for obvious reason. You know, he's supposed to be like all metal and stuff, a robot, you know. So he moves slower, but he does hit harder and to make up for his lack of speed. So it does balance out because Luke is faster, hits more often, where Darth Vader is not as fast, hits less often. So it balances out overall. So, but with that, that kind of gives you a general tactic of heroes versus villain. Of course, continue to experiment with each hero or villain you play with to kind of get a better understanding of them. Boba Fett has the potential to beat most heroes, with the exception of if Layla has her bubble up, and then it's hard for him to shoot through it, which is when your infantry becomes useful because they have weapons that can shoot through the shield or get rid of the shield. So keep that in mind. So with that, that covers all the game modes from the multiplayer game mode, all 9 of them. And again, to repeat, that's Supremacy, Assault, Fighter, Squadron, Blast, Cargo, Drop Zone, Drop Zone, Droid Run, Hero Hunt, and Heroes versus Villain. And with that, I want to thank you guys for watching this video. Please like, comment, or subscribe. I am of course pursuing maxing out my level with Star Wars Battlefront, so I will continue to upload videos of my progress, and I will see you guys in the next one.